This is the Talkin Bout the Hoosiers podcast, presented by HoosierIllustrated.com. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Talkin Bout the Hoosiers podcast, presented by HoosierIllustrated.com. I'm joined by Kyler Staley, and we have another emergency podcast. I'm Drew Rosenberg, and former Stanford Cardinal, freshman guard, now going to be sophomore guard, Kanaan Carlyle has committed to Indiana via the transfer portal. According to 247 Sports, the number one combo guard, number 10th overall in the portal. So another big addition for Mike Woodson in the transfer portal this offseason. Kyler, I guess your initial thoughts to Carlisle.
Yeah, I mean, it's been rumored for quite a bit. So, Carlisle's been well connected to Indiana. He's from Georgia. So there's that big connection there with assistant coach Jasir Roseman. Kind of like similar with how Rice was as well. Indiana did recruit Carlisle just for a little bit when he was in high school. He played 3 years, I believe, down in Georgia. I'm blanking on Milton was the high school that he played at, and then he sit his senior year at Overtime Elite. Very, very successful player. He's won a gold medal on the 2022 FIBA Olympic team or FIBA U.S. team. So he's won a medal there. He just knows how to win. But yeah, no, Indiana gets another combo guard, another ball handler to pair with Miles Rice. And I would say probably the expectation right now would be for him to start alongside Miles Rice and then Trey Galloway come off the bench where he's more natural and more comfortable in that. But, a lot of what you're getting with Kanaan Carlyle is pretty much the same as what you're getting with Miles Rice. Both dynamic players, both really use their speed. Miles Rice is more lengthy than what Carlisle is, but Carlisle is just really good off the pick and roll game. He's a straight bucket getter, honestly, from the film that I've seen. Obviously, the numbers are just a little bit, kind of fight back just a little bit when I say that. But, a lot of times when you look at three-point shooting when it comes to freshmen, a lot of times they do struggle. Very rarely do you have a freshman that comes in right away and just lights out of the ball. And that's kind of the same with both Miles Rice and Carlisle. But I think they'll be a lot better this for the sophomore year and then them playing with Indiana. But you can play Carlisle in many different spots when it comes to the backcourt. You can pair him with Miles Rice, like I said, compare him with Gabe Cuffs, compare him with Trey Galloway. I mean, he's just a real versatile player on that end. So he's actually a better catch and shoot jump shooter than what Miles Rice is. So you got that kind of falling for him. And like I said, the pick and roll game is really good for him. If you get a guy like a Malik Renew, a guy that can kind of, stretch it out just a little bit or whatever. Carlisle loves to use his speed, and he has a quick burst of speed to the ball and has a really good floater. But just a real dynamic piece for Indiana. They closed the deal on this one as well. So you got to feel pretty happy with the Indiana front or backcourt heading into next season.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at Carlisle, you look at a couple things. He's, kind of a true point guard. Change of pace from what Xavier Johnson was. Not really he's quick, but isn't going to, I guess, push it in transition every single time he gets it when you watch him play. Really good at drawing contact. I think he shot almost 4 free throws a game, had a couple games or in the 8-9 range where he was able to score. I mean, you said it. He can score the basketball. His shooting splits, not the best, but again, he's a freshman. The one thing with him, I guess the biggest concern when I look at him is his size. I mean, he's 6'3", 185, but he's a skinny 185. So on the defensive end, it's a little, I guess, how does it work with him if, I guess, when you're playing him, I mean, with him alongside Trey Galloway, it should be fine, and alongside some of the longer, bigger guards. But that part of Carlisle's game is the concern just because of his, skinny frame, but really good ad for Mike Woodson and crew. Another, you mentioned it, another Georgia guy. So that it seems like the Georgia connection still runs pretty deep with Mike Woodson and Coach Ya. So another, I guess, really big addition for Mike Woodson in a huge offseason where now is added Umar Ballo, Miles Rice.
Sorry to cut you off, Drew. So what I was going to say, you mentioned that he is really thin. Yeah, he is. He's really got to work with Coach Cliff this offseason and get some more muscle on him. But you made a good point that Georgia connection still runs deep. Mike Woodson, obviously, with his ties, being the head coach for the Atlanta Hawks, he really built a really good relationship down there. And then Coach Yao, being from that area, has recruited a lot of these people. So, you obviously for this next year, you've got Miles Rice, Kanaan Carlyle, then you got Ja'Kai Newton, who's kind of that wild card where he kind of fits in here. And then last year, obviously, they've had Caleb Banks. So, I think Indiana, there's a lot of Georgia players that have actually ran through the Indiana program over the years, and honestly, they've all turned out pretty well for the most part. But yeah, no, like Carlisle, just a real crafty player. He plays with a tough motor too, from what I've seen film wise with him. So, like I mentioned, he's real versatile. He can do a lot of things on the floor. Just got to get those 3-point shooting numbers up and everything.
Yeah.
And he's not going to be afraid to shoot it. He's really quick about that. And he's really good. What I really like his play, like I mentioned, he goes off the ball, or he plays off of ball screens pretty well.
Yeah.
I really like the pull-up game that he has when he utilizes a ball screen, and he has a really nice sidestep jumper as well. So can just really create on the ball, and he's going to be a real big addition for this backcourt. And the best part about this thing is that Indiana has a lot of depth when it comes to the backcourt now, and they're probably still going to add some pieces as well. So a lot of depth, more depth that they had last year, just bearing any injuries this year. And even if there are injuries, I think you feel comfortable with throwing, honestly, anybody that they have in the backcourt this year, just throwing them into the fire. So it's going to be fun to watch that backcourt this year. I feel like it might take just a little bit for them to gel, just kind of figure out who can do what the best. But there's a lot of talent in that backcourt, a lot of talent. So, and then you also throw in the perimeter play as well. So, I mean, Mike Woodson, you got to give credit to him. You got to give credit to the staff. I mean, he took last year, what it looks like on paper, he took last year as a big learning example of what not to do when it comes to the transfer portal. And he's just done a really good job, man. He's really cooking. You can arguably make a case that he's Indiana's been the best team when it comes to the transfer portal this year. So it's going to be fun. Just a big addition with Kanaan Carlyle.
Yeah, and you mentioned, I mean, the new backcourt with Miles Rice and Kanaan Carlyle. If you want to watch them, they had an unbelievable back and forth game, and I think it was January. I'm looking at the date right now, January 18th. Washington State beat Stanford 89-75, but Miles Rice had 35 points for Washington State. Kanaan Carlyle had 31 for Stanford. It was a really fun duel, and so I guess if you want to watch what could be, or what I guess is going to be the Indiana backcourt, that's, I mean, probably the game you should start with, because it was a really fun back and forth between those two.
Yeah, and honestly, what's interesting is they're actually pretty good friends from what I've heard as well. So they've already got that built-in connection. So that's great. When you have a backcourt that already has built-in chemistry coming into the season, that just works, man. But I've got a full scouting report at HoosierIllustrated.com, just like I've had with all the other transfers coming in, and I'll have more as more transfers come in and take up some more spots. But the transfer portal, I mean, it's almost over. So it'll be interesting to see what Indiana does. There's still some spots they need to fill. So we'll see about that. But you go to HoosierIllustrated.com, a lot of stuff there. So check it out. We'll keep everyone updated as far as this transfer portal is concerned.
Yeah, just like Mike Woodson is not done in the transfer portal, neither are we. I mean, at HoosierIllustrated.com, we have everything you need for the transfer portal and really all things IU athletics, including football. Some stuff from the spring game that just happened. So make sure to follow Indiana_FRN on Twitter, Facebook, and check out the HoosierIllustrated.com website. And make sure to subscribe on both YouTube and Spotify. Hoosier Illustrated also has partnered with Tom Brady's company, Autograph, to streamline our coverage so you can do what you do best. Follow IU Sports. Use the code IndianaFR to get started today. As always, thank you for tuning in to the Talkin Bout the Hoosiers podcast. We'll be back.